Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Sick Podcast, Talking Titans. We got a hell of a show lined up for you today. We got an incredible guest, got tons more to talk about. Some coaches still on the hook with their teams, making us wait a little longer for interviews. Others we've already talked about. Man, it's going to be a loaded show. You're not going to want to miss it. Sammy, start me up.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Talking Titans.
Ladies and gentlemen, 94 yards. Touchdown, Titans. He is the baddest man in the NFL, and he just took her to the house.
The sickest Tennessee Titans podcast.
Sick!
It's gonna be sick.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Sick Podcast, Talking Titans. I'm Sal, as always, joined by my two co-hosts, Jarett and Vin. How you guys doing tonight? Good?
Can't complain, I could complain, but you don't want to hear my problems. I don't want to tell them to you, so.
That's it. So I kind of want to tell you my problems either. But nevertheless, guys, we got a hell of a show lined up tonight. We got an incredible returning guest. I don't want to waste a second from bringing him in. So let's bring him on in. Mr. Turron Davenport. TD, how you doing today, my friend? How's the weather over there?
Hey, you know what? I feel like I'm back in PA, man. To be honest with you, it's like 18 degrees. You got snow on the ground.
Ain't much different than up here.
Yeah,
No.
but it's all good though. It's all good.
I just spent about an hour and a half salting my driveway, and it's been a minute. I got to be honest. We've been pretty lucky over the past couple of years, but we're due. So, with all that being said, TD, first of all, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We got a lot on the plate to talk about, but initially, let's just get right into the biggest news since we've last had you on. Titans have a new opening in their coach position. Some saw it coming, some didn't see it coming. I want your first rating from 1 to 10 of how surprised you were it happened, and then after that, give us a little bit more detail on why you think the relationship had to end.
Yeah, well, I'll say a month ago I would have said like a 7 or 8, but the week leading into that last game against the Jaguars, and especially Sunday, I would have said like a 1 or a 2. Wow. It was almost a given that was happening, to be honest with you.
Wow.
With some of the stuff that I gathered before that game and after that game, and then even that Monday with locker cleanout day, it was like, yeah, he's gone. So wow. there was a lot that went into it. I'll try to give you the abbreviated version of it, but be as informative as possible. And basically, when you look at the situation, right, as Diana Rossini and Joe Rexroad excellently reported, Ryan Cowden was the guy that Mike Vrabel wanted, right? And when you have that situation, he and Rand got along, as you saw, in the story that I wrote. There's no lies there or anything like that. Was there disagreements? Obviously, but I'm sure you three, as much as you guys work together, have had disagreements, but you'll work it out, right? And that's a part of a human relationship. So you did have that, but it was just the acceptance and willingness to – it just wasn't there, that true self-sacrificing teamwork approach to things. So you had that. You had a lot of ideas, right? We know Chad Brinker. I mean, the Packers put him through – he has his master's in the analytics, right? The Packers put him through school to do that. This dude has an analytical model for everything down to, player injuries, as he touched on in his opening press conference. So a lot of those things weren't incorporated. And then you look at some of the other things as far as just being a more innovative franchise. That was something that the organization wanted to do. And a part of that innovation is a more modern offense. We know what this league is all about. Passing the football. And yes, you want to run the football, but it's also about stopping the pass. What did this team do? They focused on running the football and stopping the run.
Yep.
You have, whoever passed for 350 yards, and they're like, yeah, but they only rushed for 60. So what? They dropped 28 on you. You know what I mean? So you have that that approach. And I'm not saying that like to take away from Mike Vrabel, because Mike Vrabel, in my opinion, is a really good coach. But I just know he wasn't a match for what the Titans wanted to do and their progression into a more modern franchise. And that particular part was in the way. And it was one of those things where they said, well, you know what? You know the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And they said no more. They're not doing it anymore. And that's why the move was made.
Now, you think it was his stubbornness that he didn't want to do it? Do you think he wanted to do it? And how was like the players in the locker room? Did he lose the locker room? Because Jeffrey Simmons, you see these guys tweeting over and over again. You saw Tart tweet out, Johnson tweet out, that they're focused on the defense when they should be focused on the offense. And Jeffrey Simmons tweeting out saying, hey, if he wasn't worried about hiring his buddies for the offensive side of the ball and try to hire outside, maybe it'd be a different story here. So do you think it was his stubbornness? And did he lose the locker room with the offense? Because the defense played pretty well this season. So how do you see that playing out with the players with Mike Vrabel?
Yeah, that's a good question. You could call it stubbornness, but you could also call it pride. You could also call it just, hey, I know what works for me, right? And it's hard to just stop what you have. I mean, let's face the facts, right? Mike Vrabel has achieved levels of success that, only few do, right? He's won multiple Super Bowls as a player. What he's seen works, but the problem is it wasn't working there. And you talk about the players. So if you remember a little bit ago, and Sal, I appreciate you because I know a lot of people, after I asked Mike Vrabel for an example of why he maintains the locker room, you stood up and said, oh, no, that's not a stupid question. And I appreciate that because
of course that's not. I'm
not going to ask him, hey, do you have control of the locker room? Because naturally, what's he going to do? Say yes. Yep. So you skip over that. Well, tell me how. And there was a reason why I asked that question. That was because there were rumblings among the players that they weren't happy with Mike Vrabel. And it was from multiple people, none of which tweeted about it. Okay, so that's something. It's just one of those things. And I said it before, I'll keep saying it. It's a lot like the 49ers before they got Jim Harbaugh as the head coach. Mike Singletary took over. He was the coach, the interim. They won some games, and it was cool. Everybody was like, oh, yeah, I like this style. It's rugged. That's what we're going to do. Then they started losing, and everybody was like, man, that stuff's for the birds. I'm not. That message isn't the same. And that's basically, to some, not all, to some what happened with the Titans. But I will say this. For it to be as close kept as it was is really a testament to Mike Vrabel and that coaching staff, because you look in Philly with the Eagles. I mean, I could point my finger at you, you point your finger at him, and he points his finger. That's what's going on, right? And I think that shows you the difference between the two, to be honest with you, between Sirianni and Mike Vrabel.
My question for you, Turron. Well, first, thanks for coming back on. I enjoyed our little Philly talk. I didn't know you were from the area, so
yeah.
Like we say, Philly support Philly, but not in this regard right now because we're talking about the Titans. So you gave a pretty detailed explanation as to why you thought there was the breakup between Mike Vrabel and the Tennessee Titans just now. When Sal asked you gave a nice detailed answer. My question is, and that seemed to be the consensus between everyone we had on the show, that there wasn't going to be a breakup. Now, you gave a pretty solid answer or detailed answer as to why they did break up. Why was your confidence so high that they weren't going to get rid of him when we had you on just a few weeks ago? Same with Taylor Anderson. When we had her on, she said that it wasn't going to happen. But yet you gave a pretty detailed answer as to why it did happen. Why did it take till the end of the season for this to unfold this quickly? It wasn't because Vrabel kept it so tight-lipped, because it seems like you as an insider knew that there was friction, and you seemed pretty confident 4 or 5 weeks ago he was going to be here. Mm-hmm. So what happened in that time frame that it just seemed like overnight that it was, what made it fall so hard is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that's another good question. Well, I'll say this. It was one of those things over time. Like, it 100% was not an emotional, rash decision for Amy Adams-Strunk to fire Mike Vrabel, just the same as it wasn't a rash decision to fire John Robinson. It was something that over time, right? And when this season started, like before this season, there were thoughts like, all right, we're just going to make it work. We can make it work. And it's just one of those things, like you picture yourself in a relationship, right? And you're giving your lady every chance to get right, and she just can't get right. You know what I mean? And somebody asks you, hey, are you and so-and-so going to break up? No, we're good. We're, working on some things, but we're good. And that's more or less what was happening, right? But on the other side of things, it just continuously deteriorated to a point where it's just like, why am I doing everything I can to placate this side and pulling this side to placate it too, Rand Carthon and the crew? We're going to stop it. We're going to revisit, what we thought about in the past and make it happen that way. I think it's like a rough way to explain it, but it was over time. And then finally it was just like, you know what? Not going to do it anymore.
So you're saying behind closed doors, they made it seem like everything was kind of hunky-dory a little bit and that they were going to make it work, which is where your optimism and Taylor's optimism came in.
They were trying to.
Yeah,
it seemed like they were trying to.
Where we think like, yeah, it's going to work. And that's where your optimism came from and Taylor's, because you made it sound like there was going to be no ifs, ands, or buts, that Vrabel was going to come back. But it kind of seems like the analogy that you used in a relationship behind closed doors, you want to make it seem good on the surface until the point where you can't even hide it anymore. Yeah. So I guess that's kind of where it came in with Vrabel. You couldn't hide the fact that there was, friction in the relationship. And I guess over time, like you said, that it kind of got to the point where it was like, okay, we're going to go our separate ways.
There's two tipping points, I would say, to describe it best between the relationship ending between John Robinson and the Titans and Mike Vrabel and the Titans. Now, I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I called it both times when I said these are big deals that the organization, especially Amy Adams-Strunk, is not going to like, and I got ridiculed for it, but that'll be for another show when it's just the three of us. I'm not going to bore TD with that. With that being said, the first instance was John Robinson dapping up A.J. Brown in Philadelphia, like things were cool, nothing was going wrong. That rubbed Amy the wrong way. Absolutely did. It was brought up after the release. The second instance would be Mike Vrabel going to New England and saying a few things that it wouldn't take being in the organization or a fan of the organization to know we're really out of line when you're the head coach of a different NFL franchise. How big of a part did you think that had in the decision? And do you think, just like with the John Robinson instance, it was probably the final nail in the coffin for Amy Adams-Strunk, saying the things he did in Foxborough?
Yeah, I don't think that was the tipping point. I think continuing to lose was, to where it was like, okay, I'm doing everything I can to make it work, and we're losing. I think that really was the reason. And, the part with John Robinson and A.J. Brown, I don't know that rubbed her the wrong way or not, but I will say, like the Mike Vrabel situation, that was an ongoing thing. And more seeing the separation of talent between that roster and this roster is what did that. And that was an ongoing thing that started. I mean, remember, going into that year, this organization, Dylan Radence, they gift wrapped the right tackle position for him. The cornerback was one of the starting cornerback positions. Caleb Farley, these are your top two picks, and they were supposed to be starters, and we know what happened there. So I think you look at that, and then just the continuous, like the deterioration of the roster and the separation. That's really what it was. But like for Mike Vrabel, I would like to believe that, those comments were one of those ones where you're like, it probably did affect her, but I don't think that was like the tipping point.
Okay.
So moving on, we're closing the door on Mike Vrabel. We're opening up the door for another head coach over here. We've already, I believe, interviewed 5 to 6 guys already. Brian Callahan being one of them. Ben Johnson on the list as well as Lions offensive coordinator. Bobby Slowick, Dan Quinn, all these other guys on the list over here. In your personal opinion, who do you think your personal self is? Who do you think the best coach is for the Titans? And who do you really think Rand Carthon is going to actually target to be the next head coach for the Tennessee Titans?
Right. So there's 10 guys that they've put requests in for.
Yeah.
4 interviews. Brian Callahan was the first, the Bengals OC. Mike Kafka, the Giants OC, was the second. And someone will say, why? Well, you look at the Andy Reid ties, and it makes sense. I don't think he should get the job, but it makes sense to at least hear him out. So you got that, and then the next day they did the defensive guys, right? Antonio Pierce, interim Raiders coach. I get it, right? He's a CEO. He's a dictator. You could have, somebody that will come in and set the tone of the franchise, right, and the culture. And then Mike Macdonald, who we saw what he did with this Ravens. That Ravens team is ridiculous. Yeah. That defense is crazy. Now, with Mike Macdonald, hopefully for his sake, he could bring Chuck Smith with him, because you look at those outside linebackers, they're killing it, right? But then you got 6 guys left over. So you ask me who I think the best one is, and I will without a doubt say Brian Callahan. And you look at him, you look at the quarterbacks he's worked with, right? Peyton Manning, Matthew Stafford, Derek Carr, say what you want about him, and Joe Burrow. And then you look at just the way he has the Shanahan ties, right? His father was a coach, Bill Callahan.
Speaking of that, I'm going to cut you off before you continue over there. If they do hire him, I love that you said the father, because he's an offensive line coach for the Cleveland Browns, veteran guy who's been in the league. And I've been saying it since the end of the season. We need to bring a veteran offensive line coach to help these young guys develop in the NFL. That's all I got to say. So keep going.
No, Callahan would definitely be a good option there. Just have to see if the Browns would allow him to leave. I mean, it's sentimental. Hey, man, I want to go work with my son. I can see them saying, okay. But that being said, you also look at – so I took a dive into him, because I watched a few videos of him speak, and I was like, yo, I need to see more. So I went in, I watched some of his coaching clinics. I reached out to some people in Cincinnati. And the one thing that they told me was how he inspires the players. And obviously as a head coach, you have to do that. X's and O's are important, but you got to be able to dial in and tap into the guys, right? So you look at week 6. They beat the Seattle Seahawks 17-13, right? Again, I will say they beat the Seahawks, right? They came out victorious. It was a W in the column, okay? They had the bye week the next week. Before that bye week, when they gathered as an offense, he littered to the whole crew. Again, they beat the Seahawks. He lit into the whole crew. They had 214 yards of total offense. He took offense to that. He didn't like how the offense ran, and he laid into him. They come back from the bye week. What does he do? Lay into him again. They go out to San Francisco. They drop 33 on the 49ers in Santa Clara. Orlando Brown Jr. talked about how he lit a fire under the offense. That's what I want if I'm hiring somebody, right? But then you also look at, he spoke in one of his clinics about tendencies, right? And we all know that the Titans, whether it's Ty Downing or Tim Kelly, those first couple drives usually go pretty well.
Yeah.
He spoke about establishing those tendencies, that script, and showing the defense what you want to show them, see how they react, and then attacking that way. And he talked about making those adjustments, right? And how important it is to do that, and how important it is to recognize you have tendencies, and these are the things you got to fall back to in critical moments, instead of a tight end reverse or some crazy stuff like that. And it's cool when it works, right? But you don't want to always rely on that in critical moments. And that's what he was talking about. And then he also shared making adjustments off of things that you do well, right? T. Higgins, the slot fade is something they always found success with. So what do? Okay, well, we're going to put you there. We want you to release outside, drive up the seam, chop it down, and work your way back to the quarterback, because we want to hit you on a fade stop. The next time we want you to get that outside release, drive up the field like you're going to the fade, plant, and then come across, and we're going to hit you across the middle. These are adjustments to things that you already established that you do well. And it sounds real simple, right? Yeah. But it's not things that you saw consistently over the last 3 or 4 years.
No.
When you're looking at the Titans offense. So I could go on and on about that. There's more with him, but that's just a piece. Now, I will also say this. Thomas Brown is a very intriguing guy. He's the most recent request. And when you look at him, the Sean McVay ties, right? He worked with McVay for 2 years. Running backs coach, tight ends coach also. And we know the importance of a tight ends coach because you're involved in the running and the pass game. And he was also, by the way, assistant head coach under Sean McVay. So you do have that. And people will say, hey, look at the Carolina game or season. And I get it, but that wasn't his offense. That was Frank Reich's offense. And then you look at the 2 games that they won, coincidentally, those where they had like a really good outing, that was when he was running his offense. And you'll see a lot. And oh, by the way, he worked with Liam Cohen with the Rams. And we know the connection to Will Levis, right? Will Levis that season, Liam Cohen was calling the plays. Who knows? Maybe Liam Cohen comes to the Titans instead of going to the Bears because he wants to work with Will Levis and his friend Thomas Brown. You do have that option. So Brown is a guy you definitely have to look at as well.
What do you think of Slowick? I hear his name the most thrown around. What do you think about him?
Okay, so you say most likely to get who I think is most likely is Slowick. Now, a lot of the feedback I got was that he's not ready, just as far as the leadership aspect. Again, the X's and O's, they're good, but you got to be able to lead men. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I didn't get that he's there yet. So you do have that, but you look at the familiarity with Rand. I mean, 6 years together in San Francisco. Obviously, you know, Kyle Shanahan, he understands the, you know, collaboration part of it, that it takes in order to be an organization like the 49ers. So I could see just the familiarity being something. But I know that Rand and Burke Hill and Adolfo, Amy Adams, Strunk, they're all going to really exhaust this process. And I think they're going to pick the right one.
Yeah, it's curious to see if Callahan comes here, if that would maybe make it a little easier to get T. Higgins in free agency, brings his guy with him. That'd be
Tyler Boyd. I mean, that's not a player, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Tyler Boyd. T. Higgins to me is a great talent, but he's had some trouble staying on the field the last few years. So I'd be a little hesitant to, pay him. Probably he's going to command, I would assume, close to $20 million a year, give or take. Yeah. My question is for you, since we're past Vrabel, we just talked about who we might hire. I want to skip towards the draft, okay? Because I'm driving myself a little crazy with different scenarios, and we
aren't we all?
Yeah, mock draft simulator.
Yeah, exactly. So
had me up late a couple nights, I'll admit.
Yeah, exactly. Watching highlights of Joe all at 2 a.m. But we are picking 7th, and to play devil's advocate, I think we all agree we need a left tackle, right? We need a left tackle desperately. We have Skoronski, who I think wasn't fully healthy this year after his appendectomy. He showed signs that he belongs, and I think he will have a bounce back year and prove to be worthy of where we picked him last year. I think we solidify the left side of the line, protect Will Levis's blind side, hopefully for the next decade. But to play devil's advocate, let's just say that the 2 tackles are gone. The Penn State Ola is gone, and then Alt is gone. At 7, do you think maybe we trade back, or do we take best player available? Obviously, if one of the tackles is there, I assume we take them. But if they're not, because Chargers look like they might need a tackle, the Giants look like they might need a tackle. If neither of them are there at 7, what's the move? Is it the trade back, or if both tackles are gone, that might mean Malik Neighbors is there? Do we go with someone like him, or what do you think? First off, who do you think we do take if both tackles are there? If not, who do you think we go? What's the move if they're gone?
Yeah, so both of them are there. I think it's Joe Alt. And in my opinion, I'll say it. I don't think there's a player in this draft more ready than Joe Alt. Like Caleb Williams included. He's the most ready player. And you watch him, and you're going to have some issues with pad level. He's 6'8", so you're going to have that. But you work on that. I think he's the most pro ready. So he would be the guy. And I think when you look at what this team needs to do, they need instant impact cornerstone type players. And
yes, we do.
That's the best option in my opinion. Now you mentioned the Chargers. I mean, Malik Neighbors is intriguing there for them, right? Rome Aduze is intriguing there because Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, especially, like those guys they've had trouble staying healthy, and the Giants, you got Evan Neal at right tackle, hasn't been that good, but he was like a top 10 pick just 2 years ago. So I don't know what they'll do. But if they're both gone, you could trade back. That is an option. I wouldn't go back too far because you look at Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma. I think he's someone, and I can never pronounce his name, but my man from Oregon, Troy Fautano, I think it is. Like a lot of people think that he could play. He may bounce inside to play guard. I don't know. Like, I want to see what the measurables are and stuff like that, because I know, like, the short arms is what made a lot of people think Skoronski was more of a guard. But I think he could be a tackle also, and I think you could trade back, like, in the 15s, the 20s. But it takes two to tango, you know what I mean? So, and if a guy that's intriguing enough for a team to trade up for is there as a team like the Titans that have like a CBS list of needs, I don't know that you give up that guy.
Yeah.
But you believe, though, even if one of the tackles is there, if Alt's gone, they take the kid from Penn State. If the kid from Penn State's gone, they take Alt. Is that what you're saying?
I think, yeah, if they follow the board accordingly, right, and whereas you do it horizontally, like position of need versus the overall rank, I don't see – I mean, you're looking at the first or second tackle, which is a position that you're dying for, versus the second or third, depending on how you look at it, because some people will have Keon Coleman ahead of Neighbors or Dunze. Like, you know what I mean? You have the second or third receiver and versus the top tight end and Brock Bowers, which I don't do that at 7.
Something's telling me, man, because they made the move, they fired Vrabel. I think Amy's going to give Rand some more power. Something's telling me they're going to do something off the wall in this draft, and they're going to shock a lot of people, whether that be figuring a way to get Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm not throwing that away just yet. Doing something out of the box to let the fans know, hey, listen, obviously we need to protect Will Levis, and that is priority number one before anything. But there's numerous amounts of different ways you can do that if Alt or the guy from Penn State aren't available, or you don't want to go that route. There's plenty of ways to keep your young quarterback safe. And I think, I don't know. We're going to find out, but I just think something off the wall is coming in the draft. And if you think you know what it is, TD, let me know.
I don't know what it is, but that's another reason why I like Brian Callahan, because you look at what he's had to do throughout his time in Cincinnati, right? He's found success on offense with limitations on the offensive line. So that's yet another reason why, like, I stand 10 toes down. Like, he's the guy. You know what I mean? But this draft is deep at tackle and receivers. So, you do have that, but there's always a drop off,
but like you said, you don't want it. You want that cornerstone left tackle. You want that 1A to 1 number one wide receiver, because Treylon Burks ain't it. I already said in our postseason wrap up that, in my opinion, cut your ties, trade him, get anything for him, a 4th, a 5th, or whatever you want. Because we need draft capital. We don't have a 4th or a 3rd round pick this year.
Right.
So TD, going into this, I want to play a little game. You're going to cut, you're going to keep, and you're going to go after somebody for the Titans. Who are you cutting on the current roster? Who are you keeping, and who are you going after on free agency?
I'm cutting Andre Dillard, man.
Thank you, sir. We agree with one.
That's the T-ball. That's it.
Yeah. So who am I keeping? Free agent wise?
Free agents. That's on the Titans. Who are you keeping on the Titans? Free agents?
Hey, man, Danico Autry.
Yeah,
you got to keep him, because he's not only a beast against rushing the pass. He's something against the run too. So
he's just a monster.
Yeah. Now, what was the other one?
And who are you targeting in free agency, not on the Titans, on another team, to come to the team?
We talked about T. Higgins. I do like that. Robert Hunt from the Dolphins, the guard. That's who I target.
So you're going to revamp the whole – you're going to let Aaron Brewer go. You're going to move Brunskill to the center, tackle the guard position, and keep MPF over there at right tackle? If we draft Ola or Joe Alt?
I reserve MPF to swing tackle. I don't think he's starting caliber at either position, to be honest with you. The center is something that maybe draft. That's what I'm looking forward to, a Senior Bowl for, to see some of these centers up close. And I think that's a position. Nasty. But as much as I like Brewer,
he's light in the ass.
Yeah, it's just
he's light in the ass.
You can't.
Nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
One name I want to throw out there is
go ahead.
No, you're good.
Well, I'm saying you bring in Hunt, you get him. I think that's really, really a really good option.
Yeah.
Shore up the inside.
Yeah, TD, we're gonna let you run. One name I want to sprinkle in there that I've been saying, and I'm pretty sure he's a free agent. I've wanted him for multiple years. That's Danielle Hunter of Minnesota. I think he'd fit in perfectly with this defense, and he averages like 12 sacks a season. Like nobody talks about him. One of the best players on the planet.
He does just float under the radar.
Yeah,
it's going to depend on what they do defensively, though. You know what I mean? Like if they're running that 3-4, perfect. But he is he could be a situational rusher, in a 4-3 type of scheme.
Yeah.
But do you pay him what he would want to be a situational guy? That's the only thing.
Yeah. I think he's like 31 now, so I don't know if it'll be monstrous, but either way, there's a lot of players that we're going to be looking at moving into this offseason that might be people we bring in, let go, keep, so on and so forth. But TD, I want to thank you once again for joining us. You're one of our most favorite guests to have on here. Your insight is second to none. You're an X's and O's guys, and we love that about you. So appreciate you taking the time out tonight, and we can't wait to have you back on in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you guys.
All right,
Take care, buddy.
That's Turron Davenport, friend of the show. We appreciate tremendously having him on. Man, he's got knowledge on knowledge, and you could pick his brain for hours and listen to talk for hours. So we thank so much for him coming on. I mean, really, there's I'm just waiting for the first domino to fall here, obviously. And I'm not talking about the firings because the Vrabel was the only domino that I was looking for. So everything else is cake at this point. But I'm talking about the revamping of our football team, the first domino to fall, whether that be a huge free agency signing or which we would assume before the draft. We're going to get some people in here. But, I don't know. What do you think the next step is in this process, guys, as far as what the next change is going to be?
I mean, well, they got it. Obviously, I'm curious to see what other changes they make to the staff after they hire their head coach. If they bring in Callahan, will he call the plays or will he hire an offensive coordinator to work under him? I'm curious to see what happens with the whole staff, though. I mean, top to bottom, no, I don't think anybody's safe. The athletic trainer, the strength and conditioning coach, the way this team was injured the last few years, I'd like to see them, tear it down to the foundation and try and build it back up as best as possible. But I really like what he said about Callahan and his, ability to work with less, because you see what the Bengals did the year their offensive line was abysmal. They came to Nashville and beat us. We sacked him 9 times, but they still put up 19 points, which was enough to beat us that day. So I tend to lean that they're going to go. Not to say I want Slowick, but it seems like all signs point to that. He is the betting favorite. I wanted to ask TD. I forgot about it though. Is there any validity to this Dan Quinn thing? Because right now, he's the second favorite to get this job.
That for you. No.
And I saw someone tweet yesterday, if we hire Dan Quinn, I might just go ahead and be a Lions fan or something like that. Not that I would ever do that, but I think that would just be the worst hire. I think the direction of this team is to go young, go offensive-minded. So I tend to think it's going to be Slowick, but I think Turron kind of talked me into really liking Callahan as well. So we'll see what happens. But to answer your question, Sal, after we hire our head coach, I want to see what other changes there are to the staff.
Go ahead. You said holy, so go. The floor is yours.
No. I'm not going on a rant. I can't believe Danielle Hunter had 16.5 sacks this year. That's crazy. Go ahead.
I thought you were going to say something like breaking news while we're on the show. I was going to say the floor is yours. No, I mean, I'm a big believer in Brian Callahan. He was the first interview for us, but everyone's sleeping on Ben Johnson, man. You watch the Lions all season. The Lions offense moves. There's a lot of motion. He gets these wide receivers in open space, and that's what we need to do. So I'm all in on an offensive coach and a young offensive-minded coach that shows innovation for this offense. So hopefully those are my 2 top picks over here. So the Bobby Slowick, he changed my mind that he's not ready. He's an X's and O's guy, great, but like you said, you need a guy who can lead. And if he's not ready to lead, and Amy's going to see that, Rand's going to see that, don't want him. We need a leader of men, especially going into this new stadium.
I don't think Ben Johnson doesn't really look like a leader, though. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Have you seen some of his press conferences about the offense and from year 1 to year 2?
I have not. So I'm not going to speak too much on it, but just by looking at him,
Peter Dinklage didn't look like a leader. But my man saved the 7 kingdoms.
Well, I don't want Peter fucking Dinklage as my coach either, okay?
I'm just saying you can't judge a book by its cover, what a leader looks like.
No, I won't. And listen, LaFleur is a perfect example of that. Even though LaFleur has always had a little bit of an edge, and you've always seen that, he's got a little bit of a little bit of a fire in his eye.
We changed our
rewind a little bit. Last show you said he sucks.
And Arthur Smith was in Atlanta for 3 years.
No. I said he was the only semi-exception. And I said, and they're not even firing really on all cylinders. Now, of course, the last time they played, they sure as fuck did. And I tweeted I was wrong.
I know, I saw it.
People say I never do. But that's besides the point.
I saw it. I digress.
Yeah, I got so many.
We went to therapy this week, Sal. We had a good session. Let's leave the past. Okay.
Listen, all I know is I'm so full of shit. It's coming out of my fucking ears.
You're still stuck on that. You're putting words in my mouth, CNN.
That is literally verbatim what you said.
The context in which I said it was not what you think it was.
I know.
If you think me and Jarett have an answer for everything.
You said, he said.
You don't.
You spider.
Yeah, you mutter and stuff. On your way back, bring me a Cuddy and water, Spider, all right? No, I got a question for you guys, though. I know we're very excited to see what happens with who we hire and whatnot. My question for you guys is also regarding the draft, because we're all, I know we love a lot of players. What's your best case scenario for us in this draft? One of these tackles falls in our lap, you take whichever one you want, or if both are there, which one do you take? If they're both gone, do we take the best player available? What do you think and I know it's not fair to ask this really, because it's all contingent on what we do in free agency, which is, coming up in another month and a half or so. But what's your dream scenario for this draft? What do you think what do you want really?
I'm going to tell you how I think, almost certain where I think we're gonna do a little top 10 mock draft later on in the offseason. But how this offseason is going to go, quarterbacks are going to go right off the board, flying off, either 3 or 4 of them.
I know. Are you saying Jaden Daniels comes off the board that high?
Jaden Daniels is going to come off the board.
He's going to be gone before 7.
Whether it be the Giants, because I have friends that are Giant fans, and they're hearing stuff as well on Giants Twitter. It'll be the Giants either taking him or Neighbors. Marvin Harrison Jr. is gone, whether it be with the Bears
or to Arizona.
Correct.
I don't know if he's going to be gone at 7, guys. There's too many players. We're talking about quarterback.
One of those players that are going to be so sought after that, hey, listen, and it could be a similar situation to when Julio got drafted by Atlanta. He fell, I think, to 5 or 6, and they leapfrogged everybody and traded up to get him. From the first round. That's how sought after he was. I think
watch out for Atlanta too.
If he falls to 4, 5, 6, you're going to see teams leapfrogging to trade up.
That's unexpected. We could be one of them, Vin.
I was going to say we could be one of them, and I think he's the only guy I would take over one of these tackles for sure. If he is gone, then you take one of these tackles. It's never the sexy pick, but if we can secure Will Levis's blind side for the next decade, it's a no-brainer.
You're building with him. But like I said, you got to watch out for Atlanta, because Bill Belichick came reported saying that he was interested in an untalented, semi-good roster. If he has that and he can leapfrog with somebody, the Bears, get their quarterback, get those guys out of there, he's rolling with steam. But the Giants don't need a tackle. Let's face it. They have a top 10 tackle.
MVP looking like a bust, though, man.
They have that. They have Anthony Thomas as well. Of course, they're going to roll with that. They're paying him. They're not going to go right away with that. The Chargers, everyone's saying, you included, so the Chargers need a tackle. When you really look at and break down the Chargers roster, they don't need a wide receiver. They drafted one in Johnson last year. They have Keenan now, and they have Mike Williams
is gone.
What they don't have,
he makes $20 million a year.
What they don't have
is
an elite tight end. Brock Bowers will be off the board with the Chargers. That leaves us with our pick of the litter between Ola and Alt and Roma Duzier. So those 3 will be on the board for us, and Rand will make the decision where we're going after a Jamar Chase type of player in Roma Duzier, or we're gonna build within, and we're gonna build the core of our offensive line and protect him with the blind side with Skoronski and Joel or Ola.
So let's just say, to play devil's advocate, Ola, Alt are there. Jared's making the pick. Who we picking?
I'm gonna go.
But here's the thing, though. Like we're talking about Caleb Williams, Michael Penix.
No.
Penix needs a huge Senior Bowl for his draft stock to climb, because Michigan exposed
Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Marvin Harrison Jr., That's 5. That's 4 right there.
But we're talking Brock Bowers. You said Brock Bowers might be gone before 7.
Brock Bowers.
I don't really believe in taking a tight end.
No, but I'm saying like
he's not a tight end.
We're talking about so many players. There's so much, like there's nothing that's ever guaranteed in the NFL draft. Things happen so crazy. So
I agree.
What we need to stop doing is acting as if the only players we're gonna get is at 7. Because that is not that there are plenty more possibilities. We could trade up. Honestly, we could trade up 2 spots to 5. It might cost us, whatever it's going to cost, but you never know. So we really need to just think about who we're going to try to attack in this draft. Now, there's 3 options for me. There's one that I'm going to be happy about. There's one that I'm going to be ecstatic about. And there's one that I'll settle for. Happy is Joel. I'm all in on Joel. I watched his tape. He looks like Thor or like Thanos playing left tackle. It's the weirdest thing ever. He's like the largest guy in the entire stadium everywhere he plays.
Family ties in the NFL too.
Of course. And he looks like a dog. He looks like a Lawan, rah kind of guy, just like Levis. That's what you want. You want
Notre Dame guy too, so you gotta think he's got it up top.
Of course. So I'll be very happy with Joel. I'm settled. Not going to change on that one lick, especially after what TD said. Ecstatic would be Marvin Harrison Jr. There's just so many. There's so many storylines between the father, him being as almost can't miss as it can be. Having him with Levis for a decade, forget about it. And then the settle will be the Penn State guy. I haven't really looked much into him yet.
Yeah, he didn't have to back in like 2 years.
If he's the real deal, he's the real deal. And
I think the consensus is, at least between the 3 of us, that it's got to be a tackle unless whether you trade up,
you want him.
All's the Marvin Harrison Jr. So
I
think we're all on the same page there. I really don't think they're going to draft Brock Bowers. I don't see. I think they still have some faith in Chig a little bit. It was only his 2nd year. He came on a little bit at the end of the year. I don't see them taking Bowers. Neighbors, if both tackles are gone, which I think one of them will be there, but
we're going to break down the wide receivers in a couple of shows, because if I say what I'm going to say right now, the show is going to go on for another 3 hours. Or like save it for another show.
Or like Sal said, what if we pull some shit that Houston did last year, where they drafted Stroud, traded back up, took Will Anderson, I think 2nd and 3rd. Yeah. What if we get one of these tackles at 7, whether it's Alt or Ola, and then it's pick 12 and Rome Aduzier or Malik Neighbors or Keon Coleman or whoever they have their eye on that they didn't think would fall to 12, 13, 14 is still there. Trade back in and go get not only your franchise left tackle, but your potential number 1 wide receiver to pair up with DeAndre Hopkins. Who knows?
It costs you a 1st-round pick. So.
Sure. But all great things come with, a price. So
yeah, no. Of course. It's just I don't know if Rand year 2 is going to want to really, just.
And like I said, it's all contingent on the agency, because we could sign T. Higgins and give him the bag, and we could forget about drafting a receiver in the first few rounds, because then you'd have Hopkins, Higgins. I doubt they get rid of Burks because they're paying him nothing, and there's not going to really be a trade partner for him. So if you can get Higgins in free agency, then the move 110% is Alt, or Ola. But if you don't go after receiver in free agency, it kind of leaves it. Draft night could be a bit of a mystery for us if we don't go after receiver in free agency. You know?
I mean, the thing about Marvin Harrison, like, listen, there's a plethora of people, including my dad, that are trying to reassure me, hey, listen, there's tons of wide receiver options. It's a deep wide receiver draft. There's no need to, sell the farm for one guy. But the reason why my excitement for him and my desire to obtain him is as high as it is, he's Showtime. You know what I mean? Like,
he's a needle mover, as you like to say.
Well, he is, but beyond that, like, he's Marvin Harrison fucking Jr. Okay, he's got the Showtime that's going to come with him. He's got all the pressure in the world. He's already showed he can handle it on the biggest college stage there can possibly be. I'm going to say my money's on he's going to show it on the national football level stage. And I just want flash. I want pizzazz. I want Showtime.
Yeah,
all
and listen,
aspects.
I don't know if you guys know Marvin Harrison Sr. is from Philadelphia, so he's got that dog in him too. He's got that Philly in his blood. You know, that
Can't miss now.
trickled down his bloodline a little bit. So he's, you know, anyone from this area, I think, has a certain edge to them. And you know, listen, I would have no complaints at all if we moved up to get him, or he fell to us. Absolutely, you waste absolutely no time making that pick. Don't think it'll happen. We talked all different scenarios last year, but we knew at the end of the day we were probably going with an offensive line. We tried to talk ourselves into Zay Flowers, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, but we knew at the end of the day it was probably going to be a lineman. Just like this year, we probably are going to see the same thing happen. It's gonna be a lineman. But
we have let so many star receivers.
I know. Imagine Zay Flowers on this offense.
By the wayside. Don't let
St. Brown
one
on this
guy.
offense,
Oh my God! Stop! Des
Who?
Fitzpatrick.
Don't let one guy in AJ Brown fool you. I could go down for an hour and name fucking players of during times we needed wide receivers that we let go to other teams, Hall of Famers, current All Pros. The list goes on and on and on. Don't think Amy doesn't know that. Don't think Rand wasn't told that.
Well, if you listened to that clip a little bit with Bussin' with the Boys with Derrick Henry on it, I think it drops tomorrow. He said every time we had the bus rolling, it looks like we just let somebody go, let another guy go. Jack Conklin, AJ Brown, all these other guys, Corey Davis, and the team does it. Exactly, agreed with you.
We found our quarterback. We know we found our quarterback. Don't be surprised if in Amy's eyes and Rand's eyes, they say, listen, we'll do everything we have to do to protect this kid moving forward, starting right now. But we want Marvin Harrison fucking Jr. playing in this new stadium, wearing two-tone blue. We want his fucking dad front and center while we play the Colts. That's what we want. He's not going to be wearing his son's jersey. He's not going to be wearing any jersey. No, he's not. He's not.
I
know. You know who he's going to be rooting for. That's what, you could, you never know. That could be the move, and we could stop at no cost to do it. And if we do, then it's going to be fucking awesome. But again, I'm on board with Joe Alt. So the people in the comments that are ready, that are loaded in the chamber to fucking level me because we got to protect our quarterback, I'm sold on Alt. I just think Marvin is showtime, and I want more showtime because we have a quarterback now who's showtime. So that's it, guys. We've been 47.
Whoa.
Go ahead, Jarett.
Time out. I said I wanted to break some news to everybody here on the podcast. It's going to be something really special for us three. That I'm going to be the one that's going to be representing us because I'm going to be going to the Super Bowl with the Sick Media team. It is going to be astronomical. Going to the Super Bowl. I'm not going to the game. I'm going to Media Week. I'm going to try to bring you the best coverage for us and for our fans and our listeners to bring this show to new heights.
Very cool.
Going into 2024. So I'm going to do everything in my power to sit at a table, try to get as many interviews with head coaches, with players. Jeffrey Simmons may be there. He's up for Man of the Year. So hopefully
Maybe I'll take a picture with you.
Maybe I'll take a picture of me. Maybe I can squash some beef that he had with you at the airport.
Yeah, he'll remember me now at the airport. Yeah,
he'll remember me too. With his fucking quote tweet. Ask him about my fucking tweet now. His fucking coach got fired 12 hours after I fucking posted. I still love it, Jeff. But ask him about that.
I'll definitely listen. I'm hoping we have the opportunity that we have with the Sick team. It's a great opportunity for us to be there Media Week. Like I said, we're going to kill it. We're going to bust our ass to try to bring all you guys the best content and Titans content and Sick Media content from there. So I'm really looking forward to it, guys.
Well, congrats. Jared's going to the Super Bowl, and his kids are going to community college now.
Yes, not to the game, Media Week, so I'll be there.
Yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. When are you heading down there?
February 7th, I'll be there. So nice. I'm going Wednesday to Friday. Sick team is going to be there Monday to Monday. So some of them will maybe go to the game, some of them are not. But it's going to be a great experience for us all, and very much looking forward to it. So.
Well, shout out Jarett, representing us out there. Don't do anything that I wouldn't do, all right? Don't embarrass us, all right?
Goal is to reach new heights for us in the podcast. That's
there
what
you
we're
go.
doing over here.
That's it. All right, chat. Oh, my God. I'm in work mode right now.
Did you just call him Chad?
No, Chad. I say that. I say when I'm live doing my work. If you guys don't know, I sell sports cards. I'd say chat when I talk to the people that are in my stream. Because I'm in front of this fucking camera 24/7. That's why. But I was born for the camera. So what can I say?
You got a face for radio. It's all right.
Yeah, I do, and I'm fine with that. Put me on the radio one day. You never know.
One day, I believe it. Hey, I believe it. You be
Talk
the
about
Italian Stephen A.
Wait, the fucking hotline I'd get every Sunday when I make some statement about another coach I want fired. Forget it. I mean, that should be a draw right there. Anyway, CBS, my phone is open. Guys, another episode in the books. Great show, great content as always. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Yeah, we're gonna keep trucking along as the information trickles in about coaches and hirings and off-season acquisitions. We'll obviously keep you guys all up to date. But that's gonna be a wrap for tonight. So make sure, hopefully, everyone has a great rest of their week. Stay warm, and we'll catch you guys on the flip. Tighten up, Sammy. Send me out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Talking Titans on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.